Hello everyone, you can call me Bryer, and welcome to today's video. Now, you might be wondering, why is there no beginning real-time video? Why did it just immediately skip into the speed paint? Well, that is because I forgot to record that clip, and I was far too lazy to go and record it afterwards. So for today's video, it is just the speed paint. But anyways, sorry, I forgot what I was gonna say. 1 second. If you read the title, you'll know that in today's video, I am going to be introducing you guys to my OCs. You may recognize some of their designs from past videos, especially Calla, which is the first video you've seen here, but currently I am working on a sort of story world build type of thing. And these four that are presented in the video are kind of like the four main characters of the story. And as each speed paint goes by, I'll go into more depth about each character as best I can, but honestly, this story and these characters are very much so still a work in progress, so there's still a lot that I am learning about them and that I am, writing about them, so nothing is really, concrete or guaranteed, so take everything you learn about them with a grain of salt. But anyways, I am doing essentially just a character sheet for all of them, and there is 4 total in this video, and like I mentioned earlier, I am starting with Calla. Calla is the main character of my story, and if you recognize any of the characters in this video, it's going to be Calla. While I have drawn the other 3 before, I think Calla is the only one that I've actually shown on this channel, so the other 3 might be brand new to you guys. So basically in the story that I am writing, there are some people in the world or the universe that have powers or special abilities. Calla is one of them because she's the main character, so that's naturally gonna happen. And her abilities are tied to nature and being able to control and grow plants. Also in this universe, people with said special abilities aren't exactly welcome, and once again, this is kind of a typical plot point, but I still thought it'd be a fun idea to work with. Those with said abilities aren't accepted, and the government essentially tries to find them and takes them away to a hidden location, which will be revealed later on in the story that I have not yet determined. And in this universe, generally the only way to get abilities is to have parents with said abilities. Now, just like normal genetics work, just because your parents have special abilities doesn't mean you will, but you can't get them without a parent who has special abilities, if that makes any sense. I haven't exactly decided what the limitations for these powers are, if there are any, but generally they're all sort of based around the environment or nature. And naturally, both of Calla's parents had special abilities, and when Calla was very young, her parents were being hunted by the government. They got found, so they didn't want to risk keeping Calla, especially since she had abilities as well, so they left her with a close family friend for her to live with. Fast forward, she's now living with a lovely couple who she's always known as her parents. They are her parents. She calls them mom and dad. There's no denying that. Another aspect of the abilities is not always, but sometimes people with powers or special abilities have unnaturally colored hair. So for Calla, for example, she has this sort of greenish hair. However, since that is like a dead giveaway of abilities, when she was younger growing up, her parents would always dye her hair black. And then as she got older, they let her grow out her natural hair, and then it just looked like that green hair was the dyed color as opposed to the black. Once again, if that makes sense, it might not. And Calla's last name is Enfay, which when I was coming up with all of the characters' last names, I didn't want to use just typical last names we use in our world because I wanted there to be a bit more of a magical, feel to this world. So I literally would just look at random words and try to make it sound like a last name. So for Calla, I was driving and there was a sign that said photo enforced because there was photo radar for driving. So I just looked at enforced and I went Enfay. That sounds kind of cool. I'll go with that. Anyways, that is it for Calla, so now we can get started on the second character, which is Arden. Also, you may have seen at the beginning of this video and the beginning of the other clips that for every character sheet, I wanted the proportions to be fairly similar, so I copied the sketch from Calla's character sheet and pasted it onto Arden's just so that I could kind of line it up properly. Now, I've had this sort of idea of Arden around for a long time. However, their character used to be a character called Asia Griffin, which I actually made a video on a long time ago. If I feel like it, I will have that video linked up in the corner somewhere, but this character is old. However, I do want to preference that while there are a lot of similarities, I do generally view Arden and Asia as two separate characters, so treat them as so. Also, I struggled so much with this pose. I eventually just ditched it for a few minutes, but I could not figure it out. And that's because I was trying to go for some sort of extra fancy pose, but ultimately I just went with a normal standing pose, and it was just so much easier and just saved me so much time. Every once in a while, you'll see that sort of like lined sheet thing show up every once in a while. That is a character height reference sheet, which I'll have credits for somewhere on the screen. And I basically used that to make sure that the characters were somewhat proportionate to their heights. Like, while I wasn't worried about making it like accurate, I mean like super accurate, I still wanted Arden being 6 foot to make sense visually, if you understand what I mean. So I just was using this sheet to kind of reference what a 6 foot character would generally look like. Anyways, a bit about Arden and their characters. So they are generally the more mature and intelligent member of the friend group, and are often stuck having to deal with Calla and Jade, who you will find out about later on. But overall, this isn't just because they're the most intelligent, but also because they're the most kind and caring member of the group. Arden also has aspirations to be some sort of fashion designer or work with fashion. They've always had a passion for it, and they love how it allows people to express themselves freely. Similarly to Calla, they've always had a passion for the environment and for taking care of nature, so they always make sure that they buy clothes from environmentally friendly brands, or that it is handmade or sewn, etc. And because of this, they've also had interest in being an environmental scientist, or just generally being a biologist and working with nature for a career. With all the characters, I decided to have them have generally like a color that represented them, along with other hints of colors throughout their outfits. So for Calla, her color was green with hints of pink, and for Arden, their colors are like yellow and orange with hints of green. Ended up changing the outfit from what I originally had, just because even though I thought the first outfit was cute, I didn't think it really suited Arden and their general personality. I didn't get to talk much about this in Calla's speed paint just because I was busy talking about the backstory of the world, but for all of the characters' general like information, I had one box that had the same formatting. It had like their birthday, their main hobbies, special abilities, etc. And then scattered throughout the drawing, I had 3 or 4 fun facts about them along with their height. But that's pretty much it for Arden, so now we can move on to the third character. So the third character is Willow, and she is the sort of love interest to Calla, and also is generally not a part of the main friend group, but she kind of finds her way in through her relationship with Calla. That sounds like a really like mean, and she snuck her way into the friend group, but in reality, it's just the friend group was established, and she kind of found herself a part of it once she had met Calla. Also, one thing that I hadn't talked about yet in this video is their general fashion choices. Now, with the exception of Arden, everyone has a solid kind of aesthetic and fashion group that they stick with. Calla likes cottagecore, Willow likes some sort of light/dark academia, and Jade, who you'll meet later in this video, is sort of punk, I guess, but I'm kind of unfamiliar with the punk fashion, so I may be using the wrong label. Arden is the only one without a solid aesthetic, and I thought that would be a fun idea since they love fashion and are constantly creating new clothes and experimenting. They would want to have the freedom to dress in and use a variety of aesthetics just kind of based on how they're feeling that day. You may have noticed in the background that I have drawn Willow with something that appears to be water. That is because she is also someone with special abilities and powers, and hers involves being able to control and manipulate water, and also change it to different states like water to ice, etc. Actually, she's a waterbender, and her abilities is kind of what allows her and Calla to have their first sort of proper interaction. Like, they had known each other before from being in the same classes, but had never properly talked or interacted. I kind of had this cute idea in my head that maybe they were both in some sort of biology class, and Willow had stayed behind because she was super frustrated, because I think for the assignment they had to like try and take care or grow a plant or something, and out of pure frustration she tried to see if she could just use her powers to water the plant endlessly and see if that would work. And right as she had done this, Calla walked in, and then Willow starts panicking like, oh my god, someone saw me use my powers, I'm gonna get found, I'm gonna get arrested, what's gonna happen? And while Willow was panicking, Calla managed to calm her down by showing that Calla also has powers by using hers to grow and help the plant that Willow pretty much killed. Yeah, that was just a cute idea I had in my head, and I would also like to direct attention back to the last names. I got to bring this up back with Arden, but for Arden's last name, theirs is A-OK, and basically I looked at a can of Coke and replaced the word Coke with A, so that's how I got that. And for Willow, I looked at a tree and just moved some letters around to get to Ray. But yeah, just one final thing, Willow's color palette is pink with hints of green and brown, but that's pretty much it for Willow, so we can move on to the final character of this video. The final character in this video is Jade, who I've mentioned a couple of times throughout this video. Now, similarly to Arden, Jade was originally a character called Lily, who actually was very similar to Willow. After going through and figuring some stuff out, I didn't actually like their personality that way. Originally been a very quiet and timid and keeping to themselves kind of character, but now they're the complete opposite. They're very loud and extroverted, and they're not afraid to say what's on their mind. He honestly is just so confident and is just living life to the fullest and expressing themselves how they want. I still wanted to keep some essence of that original Lily character, so what I decided is that when Jade was a young kid, they were very shy and quiet and only ever kept to himself. However, one day when they moved to the town that Arden and Calla live in, they actually made their first friends with those two, and eventually as time went on, Calla and Willow, or not Willow, why do I keep saying Willow? Calla and Arden kind of encouraged them to be confident and to be themselves, finally resulting in the character that Jade is today. I thought this would be a fun idea to give his character a bit more dimension instead of just being your stereotypical, like, punky, outgoing character, which they very much still are, but it just makes them that much more interesting. I also decided to make his color palette black and red while having motifs of stars all over the place. I also keep forgetting to mention things in other character speed paints, but Jade is very much so a musician. He's always had a passion for music, they love music, they play the guitar, and they would love to have a band one day. They tried to start a band with Calla and Arden, but it didn't go that well. As for Calla, they mostly just love running around in nature, going for hikes, and just like being in nature. Never really had a knack for anything creative, and honestly just has always felt a connection to plants and being outside. I've talked the least about Calla's character in this video just because I spent the majority of her speed paint introducing the video and the backstory of this universe. I also forgot to talk about Willow a bit, so Willow is an artist. She generally prefers more traditional mediums like oil paint and acrylic paint, however she's not afraid to try new mediums such as digital art and alcohol markers. Anyways, that is the end of Jade's speed paint, so here is a fun montage. There you have it, everybody, the final results. I'm honestly so happy with how all 4 of them turned out, and I'm happy to finally introduce you guys to these characters and get started on developing the story. Please, if you have any questions or anything that confused you in this video, let me know in the comments down below, because I didn't have nearly enough time to explain everything. Also, feel free to let me know what characters you like best, what characters you liked least, or really just anything. I'm just curious to know what kind of feedback you guys have. And of course, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. Anyways, remember to stay weird, and I'll see you guys next time.